Thank you, Alex. This morning, investigators continue to look into a deadly shooting case at a trailer park in Lawrence County.
Deputy Coroner Nathan Stanley says it happened just before 2 yesterday afternoon at the Malone Home Estates on the 3400 block of Highway 257. Stanley identified the victim as 53-year-old William Overstreet. He says Overstreet got into a, quote, domestic dispute at a neighbor's home and got shot there.
Overstreet later died at a hospital. We spoke to a neighbor who's lived in the community for over 10 years.
It ain't just in this trailer park, it's in Dublin, it's in Waycross, it's in Macon, it's everywhere, it's all amongst us.
Now, if you have any information on this case that can help investigators, you can call the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office at 478-272-1522.
The number one more time, 478-272-1522. Now to three other headlines we're following this morning. A ballpark at the center of a double homicide in Washington County could get shut down. That's what the county's chairman says they want to do to Larry Mitchell Park near Sandersville. Commission met yesterday to talk about the deadly shooting. More than a dozen people spoke, some saying that at least 1,000 people attended that May 29th party at the park. Commissioner Doug Watkins says the county will ask a judge to declare the park a public nuisance. Houston County investigators still trying to figure out exactly what led to a shooting in Robbins. Right now, they believe it happened at an attempted armed robbery. Lieutenant Ron Brainerd says around noon yesterday, there was a shooting near Wellbird Road and Virginia Dare Drive. A 31-year-old man traveled to a nearby Walmart for help after getting shot in the leg. An ambulance took him to a Macon hospital.
More answers are coming in the deadly shooting of an 18-year-old last year in Macon. A fifth person is now in jail in connection to the murder case. The Bibb County Sheriff's Office says they arrested and charged a 17-year-old with conspiracy to commit a felony. He's in the Bibb County Jail this morning without bond. He's one of 5 people charged in this case. It comes after someone shot and killed 18-year-old Shamarian Chatfield last October. It happened at the neighborhood gas station on Napier Avenue. Crime is exactly what we're putting a spotlight on tomorrow here on 13 WMAZ. I want you to join us for a conversation on this important topic. We're tackling it in our first episode of our new community affairs program called Central Georgia Focus. Tomorrow at noon, we are talking with Pastor Carlos Kelly of Beulah Land Bible Church and local barber Jarvis Paul about the rising rate of crime that we're seeing in Macon-Bibb County.
It's changed. I arrived here January 2015, but for me the greatest shift again was the pandemic. Our church, that community off of Newburgh, we saw an increase of violent acts in that area among teenagers that was taking place.
Again, join us tomorrow at noon for 13 WMAZ for Central Georgia Focus. You'll hear from community leaders who offer solutions and share their thoughts on how we got here.
Let's get to your news from across the state. 3 teens now face arson charges after a fire destroyed 3 historic homes in an Atlanta suburb over the weekend. One of those included the old Napier mansion, which was moved there from Macon more than a decade ago. Morrow police arrested 2 14-year-olds and a 15-year-old on Wednesday. Investigators say the 3 set a fire that burned the historic houses, which sit in what's known as the district. Other charges for the teens include burglary, interference with government property, property damage, and trespassing. Morrow's mayor says the city does plan to rebuild those homes. And we now know when a federal court trial will happen for suspended Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill. Our sister station in Atlanta, 11 Alive, learned it's set to start September 26th in Atlanta. Back in March, a second indictment brought new charges against Hill. Those charges related to 2 new victims as part of a case where Hill allegedly violated the civil rights of inmates. A grand jury first indicted Hill last year in the case, and Governor Brian Kemp later suspended him. Hill also faces a lawsuit related to alleged inmate abuse.
Every guardrail in Georgia will now get inspected to ensure they're safe for drivers. It comes after an 11 Alive investigation into Frankenstein guardrails. Those are created when parts from different manufacturers are put together to make a guardrail. Those parts are not meant to be mixed together and can have deadly consequences. The Georgia Department of Transportation says it will conduct a statewide review of guardrail end treatments to determine compliance. GDOT plans to replace any installations that do not meet standards. Being protected on the road is in full focus here in Bibb County as Mayor Lester Miller wants to make pedestrian safety a main priority across Macon. The mayor announced plans yesterday to increase the pedestrian safety part of his 2023 budget from $100,000 to $500,000. Mayor Miller says for a long time, the Pedestrian Safety Review Board hasn't gotten the funding that it needs. Macon is consistently one of the most dangerous spots for pedestrians, averaging around 1 death per month over a number of years. Miller hopes to change that. With the proposed increase in the budget, the mayor wants to add more lights and sidewalks. Commission is set to vote on the final budget on June the 21st. It's now 6:36 on your Friday morning. In election news, candidates who didn't walk away with the majority of the votes in last month's primary are now gearing up for runoffs in less than 2 weeks.
Now, the election is set for Tuesday, June 21st. Now, if you want to vote early, you can do that next week. In Macon-Bibb, early voting happens June 13th through the 17th. You can cast your ballot at the Board of Elections office on Pinona Avenue.
But if you want to vote by mail, the deadline to ask for an absentee ballot is today. As one group of junior journalists closes the chapter on their 3-year reporting journey, we're getting ready to start the search for another set of talented kids. Find out how you could be a part of the team just ahead.